Thank you very much for being with us here on Brazil Unsubtitled. As everybody knows, it's the channel to get to know all you ever wanted to know about Brazil, but in English. This is the man. This is the guy who answered to the post. Thank you very much for that. My goodness, I can't thank you enough because with you, a gang came. And so far, you are my third interview. The first one was with Kevin. The second with everybody remembers that Kevin is also from New York, his friend.
Uh,
The guy who really spread the love about Brazil to Neil and to the other guys. The second
Safe.
interview was with Safe from
Gotcha.
London, England. And
Mhm.
now my friend Neil, also from New
New
York.
York. Yeah.
New York, man. How are you doing
Yeah. New
today?
York. Good. I'm doing good. It's summertime here, and we actually have a day where we're gonna have. It seems like a decent amount of rain because we have been going through a heat wave.
Really?
Yeah.
I think you told me earlier on that the heat was almost unbearable, no?
Yeah, because we had high humidity. So I mean, it was about nine. I think it was in the 80 degrees range yesterday. But
Mm.
because it was so humid, you really couldn't get a breeze outside. So the minute you would step out, it's like it hit you immediately, and you just felt that heat.
You guys use air conditioner constantly there, no?
So
Everywhere
most people
you
do.
go.
Most people do. But I'll tell you a funny thing. In my house, we don't use any air conditioners.
Really?
We've just been using fans, and I mean, for the most part, it's been all right. But yeah, it gets bad sometimes.
But do you have any specific reason for that? Like the building doesn't take air conditioner, you have
No,
an
we
allergy? What is the point?
gotcha. No, I mean we have two ACs, but we've just gotten used to using fans in the last 2 or 3 years. Even when it gets bad, we just use the fans. Like if it gets really bad, we may just go take an extra shower to refresh and then just kind of relax. We try not to use the stove too much because that also adds to the heat. But
Yeah.
we just got
Or the
used to.
oven? You can bake in.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah.
By the way, let me tell you how beautiful your jersey is. I have to say it's my favorite in the world.
Different.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
nice. Can we start by having you tell people a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I'm 29 years old, born and raised in Brooklyn all my life. So I would say for the first 20 years, I had that New York pride. You'll hear people from New York. I'm not sure in 2020 they'll say this, but
Hmm.
in the past they'll say, New York is the place to be. If you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. Um,
Which is
so,
true, right? Because it's a
yeah,
very competitive city, no?
hmm I think it draws a lot of parallels to Sao Paulo in the sense that it's
Yeah.
very fast paced. There's so
Right.
many people.
Hmm.
I've seen even in some videos, your trains and your buses, you guys are just completely packed, and you can find that in New York as well. Everybody kind of cramps in. We have rush hour periods where people are either getting to work, coming from work. They're always on the go. They call it the city that doesn't, it never sleeps, which is true. This is what I've been used to, accustomed to for, most of my life. And I would say, um, oh, let me just add this. I studied finance in school, so I was always, really big on business. And again, New York being the hub for
Is this
that.
your major at the university?
Yeah, that was my major at the
Like,
University
like
of
what?
New York.
Economics?
Just I mean, economics was a part of it, but it was just the general finance. So I mean, you could go into economics. I know there would be extra courses if you wanted to go into accounting,
Sure.
things of that nature.
Mm.
So I know when I left school, this was 2000 and 2012, 2013. So this was we had gone through a recession in 2008, and there was still some effects in 2012, 2013.
Mhm.
So after school, like I had this vision that I was going to go work in banking. That ended up not happening. I found myself working at an energy company. I'm doing a lot of energy audits. I'm doing energy billing for commercial and residential businesses. And then when I fast forward to 2018, which is when I met Kevin, I joined the company that he's currently working for, in
So,
which they go ahead, sir.
no, 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 sorry, I cut you off, please.
No, in
Go ahead.
which they lease printers. They're like the top printing solution in all of New York City and many other states, and they lease printers all over the place. That's currently where I work at now. Doing I work as a junior operations analyst there.
Wow. So, if I'm not mistaken, so now you work in this company, but you perform really well in the stock market.
Yeah.
When I follow you on your posts, like I have the pleasure to follow him on Instagram, and I see a lot of posts about the market. If, by the way, if you guys want to follow him, his account is right here, right Neil. Up
Yep.
here, you can see this on Instagram. So you
Feel
do a
free.
great job, right, with the financial market. But this is a personal thing then.
Personal. You're right. It's a personal thing. Started
How
out
do
as a
you manage
hobby.
both the things? Because it takes a long time. It takes like a lot of dedication for you to follow the roller coaster of the financial market.
Yeah, yeah. In the beginning, I didn't manage it well. I'll be completely honest. In the beginning, it was a struggle because, at least in New York City, the market times and the times that we work, it's literally the same time. They coincide. We usually work from 8:30 to 5:30. The markets go from 9:30 to 4. So I tried my best not to focus on things that were moving in the moment. I tried to focus on things that would take maybe a couple of weeks, maybe a couple of months to
Hmm.
have some sort of movement.
Hmm.
That was my strategy, but it didn't always work out. I mean, sometimes I would be working and then I try and take a break to see what's going on, and sometimes I would be down relatively big on a stock.
Hmm.
But I think at least now in 2020, right now, because of the pandemic of the coronavirus,
Sure.
right now I'm home. I'm home all the time since March 31st. So it's
Mm.
just I've just been able to just trade fluently and not have to worry about work at the same time.
Even though you've got much more time to deal with the financial market right now, uh, I would like to know what it is like for a trader nowadays to trade things because of the ups and downs that the market has been facing.
Gotcha. So surprisingly lately, even with the ups and downs in the economy, I think the market is definitely not paying attention to what's happening in the real world. It's almost like it's being delusional. It's like
Really?
even though everything around us is not great right now, the markets continue to go up. Um, and that can be a dangerous thing because again, you want it to show more or less what's happening realistically. If people are home, we have records of unemployment.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
businesses are closed, so it's not like they're making so much money. Certain industries are that can take advantage of this kind of time period, but a lot of businesses, they're getting hit. There's businesses that are going bankrupt, but the market, the players are acting as if nothing is wrong. They're just buying, buying, buying. They have confidence as I've never really seen before. And so it's strange, but it's kind of like you have to ignore your logic a little bit in order to just kind of play and just take whatever gains you can. Because the minute you say, wait a minute, we're home, many people aren't working, retail just reopened, we lost a lot of time because a
Yeah.
lot of us have been home since March,
Yeah, like
you know?
3 months are gone,
Yeah,
right?
that's a huge chunk of time. We lost a quarter already, a quarter of, of our economies making money. But the people in the market, the traders, the investors, they're acting as if nothing is wrong and they're just buying with confidence.
This is psychological, I believe. No, because
Psychological.
it's pretty normal. I have studied finances a little bit, and to be honest with you, I love the personal finances. I've got a lot of books here about Brazilians who talk about it. I can show
Wow.
you a few examples. Some of them are YouTubers. The three of them are YouTubers. This guy here, I think he also works in the New York Stock Exchange. I think
Gotcha.
he has business there. His name is Thiago Negro. He's a millionaire.
Okay.
And they all talk about how sometimes people are delusional when they deal with
Yeah.
finance. It's not something exclusive from this time period we're living,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And how do you deal with these things? Like, are you being more down to earth on your decisions, or you're going with the flow?
Going with the flow, but being real careful with risk, you know?
Mm-hmm.
You know, you don't want to act like it's a gambling table where you say, "Hey, I'm going to throw everything in, and we'll see what happens." You still have to, be cautious because, when things turn, if you're still being so aggressive, you can end up losing, a lot of money. And
Mm-hmm.
this is an election year for us, so
Oh,
around
yeah,
election
absolutely.
time, it usually gets very rocky because you don't know, who's going to be president, what kind of administration is going to be in.
Mm-hmm.
Are they pro stock market? Are they, against the stock market? So, like I said, it's just an interesting time, but you just kind of play it day by day, but you're always ready to adjust
Of course,
depending on what market conditions are.
of course. Let me ask you, do you happen to invest in any Brazilian company? Is there any Brazilian company you follow closely from there?
Um, there isn't one that I follow particularly closely, but here's the funny thing I will tell you. When I do see, because I have a news streamer that gets news from most companies. So when I do see, for example, either an American company having a deal with Brazil or Brazilian company um, interested in an American company for business, I used to take screenshots and send it to a few of my Brazilian friends, like, "Hey, I'm in the know a bit."
Mhm.
But I do have plans in the future to get acquainted with the B3 at some point in the future, and that's one of the reasons why I actually want to visit Sao Paulo. Um,
B3 is a Brazilian company.
I think it's the isn't that I think that's the exchange, right? It used to be what the
B3, one
yes,
from São Paulo.
right.
Yeah, that's true. I'm sorry. That's true.
Yeah. So that's one of the reasons why I want to visit Sao Paulo a lot. I'd like to visit the exchange one day and see the traders, as they are busy in their day.
Very nice. Very nice. I was gonna ask you how the passion started, but I think it's pretty clear to me that it came from Kevin,
Yep.
right? That guy has the power to spread his passion to everyone around, even to me, who is already a Brazilian.
Uh,
After I talked to him, I started loving my country even more. But tell us a little bit how this started.
sure, I will. So when the company that I work for now, this is how I met Kevin. And I kid you not, the very first day I met Kevin, we spoke about our backgrounds, and I came to his desk. The first thing I see in his background on his computer are pictures of Brazil. And at that time I didn't
Rio, more specifically.
yeah, of Rio, right? Specifically of Rio, right? And at that time, I'm like, "Oh wow, that's cool." And then as he spoke about all the times he's traveled there, and I'm just like, "Man, that's amazing." Um, and to see him, talk about the country. One thing I'll say about Kevin is he's very meticulous with his research. This is somebody that he's gonna tell you how it is. He's gonna experience things, for himself. He's not just gonna, pick up a book, and the book might just be the opinion of the author of a place.
Nice.
He'll go. He makes sure he travels to whatever place he's talking about, in this case, Rio,
Mhm.
and he'll spend time not just in the areas that are, big for tourists, but he'll go down the so-called beaten path. So, when I first met him and he was talking to me about it, I'm like, wow, this is cool. But at the time, I was in a long relationship, so definitely the thought of traveling to Brazil wasn't there at that time, at
Mhm.
least not to Rio, because if you and this is one thing that sucks, if you ask some people here in the States, not all of them, they'll talk about obviously the first thing when people think about Brazil is they think about, depending on the community, they may think about soccer, right, football, and then they'll talk about the beautiful beaches. They always tend to focus on Rio itself, and not realizing that Brazil has so many different states.
Mhm.
So they'll mention that, then they'll mention, oh, Brazil has, Rio has the most beautiful woman on earth. And so for me at the time, being in a relationship, um, it wasn't on my radar. But and this is one thing I'm really thankful for Kevin for. So the relationship had ended about the beginning of 2019. And I was going through, the
Not so
period.
long ago.
Yeah, not so
Long
long
ago.
ago.
Allow me
Yeah.
to interrupt you from time to time because I'm really curious about details. All right. I
Mm.
really was about to ask you, as a North American, born and raised, what was it like to hear about Brazil? Because I don't know, what was the feeling when he mentioned Brazil at first? Was it strange? Why Brazil? Because you don't grow up listening about Brazil much, right?
Right. Like I said, I can speak for me just personally.
Hmm.
Um, so my family's from Haiti. My parents are
Okay.
from Haiti. So growing
Parents,
up,
father and
yeah,
mother.
my parents, yeah.
Okay.
So the only reference I really had of Brazil, and obviously in Haiti,
Mm.
football is huge.
Okay.
So you'll find a lot of Haitian. My father, but my mother talks about it a lot. She's a
Really?
huge Pele fan.
Okay.
Yeah. Anytime the World Cup is on, they're watching. So
Hmm.
when Kevin spoke to me and he's mentioning Brazil, honestly, because he's mentioning Rio, because we live in such a fast-paced city,
Okay.
and honestly, we don't ever really sit down to really think. I think that's the thing. I think it's different from state to state in the United States,
Yeah.
but because we feel like we're just always on the move, not really taking time to think,
Hmm.
we're not really sometimes always aware of what's happening outside or in a different
Exactly.
country.
Yeah.
It's just the same cycle: work, sleep, work out, hang out with friends, and
Hmm.
do the same cycle over and over again.
Hmm.
So as he was talking to me about it, I'm like, the first thing that came to my mind was, man, I haven't traveled in a long time. as he's mentioning the many times he's gone to Brazil, I'm like, I haven't traveled.
Just working.
I mean, I can only really speak about some of the states that I go to, but I don't consider that traveling.
Yeah.
And as he's mentioning, you know, the beaches and the culture, it did start to make me sit down and think about just my own life and, you know, not wanting to regret not
But
going
enjoy
to
more.
see the world. Right, you know?
Enjoy
Because
more.
it's one thing, like I said, to pick up a textbook and to read about a different place. It's another thing to actually go and experience it.
Exactly.
So that definitely started to hit me. You know, I think I know a decent amount of New Yorkers that they don't even leave New York.
Mm.
And then when they get older and then they finally do leave, they're like, man, I was missing out a lot. You know, I
Wasted
thought this
time.
right.
Mm-hmm.
So I think more so we just get so caught up in just the fast-paced life. It's like, oh, I need to continue to make money. How am I gonna live? We don't ever really think, you know, beyond just like the current moment.
Exactly.
You
So
know?
then what happened after that conversation with him, or after watching his wallpaper right there, seeing it?
Uh,
Like, what happened after that? Did he keep preaching about the country for many weeks ahead?
Actually, he didn't keep preaching about it, but I do remember him getting ready to go to Brazil and seeing Kevin's process is just absolutely amazing. You know,
That's cool. Is he
he
your
gets he
neighbor?
gets ready.
Is-
Uh
Does he live close to you?
yeah, he's only about by car. He's only about 5 minutes. I
Oh,
mean, I
that's
could even
great.
walk. I
Mhm.
could walk. The walk would probably take 20 minutes tops. It's
Yeah,
not far.
which is a great walk. Yeah.
Right. So seeing his process. So for example, let's say if he was gonna go for Carnival, because that's where he's been going for Carnival a lot.
How long?
You see him very much 9 months in advance already preparing. And
Wow.
just to see that process, you know, him buying stuff, getting ready to buy the tickets, you know, for the plane because he knew the prices would spike.
Oh.
The things he would want to bring for the trip, you know, just seeing him go to work, and I'm just like, man, this is a process.
And
But
that, and,
then
and that's school,
went,
right?
huh?
Like a
Yeah,
school for you, right?
like a
Uh-huh.
school, and he, like I said, he's very savvy. You know, he had everything ready. Like even next to me, this from the time that I went, but he was
Mhm.
he already had these ready when he went the Sambo Jumbo tickets.
Oh my goodness. When the
Right, and this was such a real experience. But
uh,
yeah, just seeing his process, and then when he went in 2019, right? I was honestly honored that while he was out there, he was calling me and showing me video. So I'm back in my work office, you know, stressing, and I'm seeing these
and
videos.
hating him. Hey,
it's,
Neo,
it, it's
bro, look at that.
yeah, it's a mixture of envy, like healthy envy, because like I said, that's my brother,
Yeah.
and looking at it like, man, what am I doing here?
You were not eating your heart out, were you?
No, but it definitely. I sat there and I'm like, I'm sitting at a desk, right?
Yeah.
Just working like crazy. And like I said, he works hard. So to see him really, you know, after working hard, enjoying himself and seeing all the footage, you know, seeing, you know, him by the beach, seeing him in the Sambo Dromo. And I'm just like, what am I doing? What is life?
And this is exactly the point that you mentioned a few minutes ago that struck you the most.
Mhm.
You can always work. It's okay to do that. It's okay to be busy. But
Yeah.
there's a moment during the year or during your life that you gotta
Yeah.
stop and enjoy. This
Yeah.
is
It's
the
true.
lesson you got from him, right?
It's true. Yeah. And just also the perspective that the world is a lot bigger than just your corner.
Exactly.
And that's when that happened, like seeing him out there. And like I said, he would even show me when like I said, he would even give me history lessons. So like I said, I would just sit back at my office and I'm like,
History lessons about Brazil.
yeah,
Does
like for
he
example,
read about Brazil and stuff?
he, like I said, he knows a ton about Brazil. So for example, I wasn't aware that Brazil had way more um slaves from Africa than the United States ever had.
I didn't know that either.
Right. So this is what I'm saying. He knows all of
Because
these facts.
I know look, I know the colony was big because if I can call it colony, but uh, we had a lot of slaves, of course,
Mhm.
especially in Minas Gerais,
Mhm.
which is the name of one of our state. It would sound in English like General Mines
Yeah, that sound like
because they really worked in mining.
gotcha.
There were a lot of mining there, and they brought the slaves to work there and to find gold and all
Mhm.
these things, you know. But I didn't
Gotcha.
know it was bigger than the United, probably because of that.
Yeah. And then the other thing too, um, like I love, for example, I'm a big sushi eater. It's been that way for years. So he asked me a question one day. He said, outside of Japan, which other country has the largest amount of Japanese? And I said, I don't know. Then when he mentioned Brazil, I'm like, no way.
Oh my God. I have a
Yeah.
video about that.
Oh, you do? I'll
Yeah,
definitely check it out.
I
I
have
will
a
definitely.
video about that. I say that it is the biggest Japanese community in the world, and people don't
Yeah.
believe it. By the way, when you come to São Paulo, I'd like to show you around, and I will definitely show you Liberdade. This is the name of the neighborhood.
Liberdade. Okay.
Liberdade, which would be freedom in English.
Freedom. Right. I would
And
love that.
Liberdade. Sorry, are you from the Yes Portuguese group? Do you?
I am. I am part of that group too.
Let me guess. Ludmila and Adriele.
Adieli and
Oh
Ludmila.
my
Yeah.
God. I'm not gonna talk about these girls anymore because every video is their names pop up every 10 minutes. Unbelievable.
Yeah, they're great. They're great. So they're doing something. They're doing something
Man,
right.
I need to arrange an interview with these two girls because
Oh yeah.
I talked to Dave and Dave said Ludmila, Adriele. I talked to Safe, the same. You
Right.
and Kevin.
With Kevin. You can definitely we can definitely set that up.
They need to be here, man. They need to be.
Yeah. Yeah. Can definitely set that up. That would be a good thing.
So I'm sorry to get you off the track. So you were talking that Kevin is a big student of the Brazilian history and everything that concerns Brazil, like the
Yeah.
Japanese community. He's always
Mhm.
asking you something interesting about that. So go on, please.
Right. So as he's, planting the seed, and like I said, I'm just fascinated by, how much he knows. And this is what really put it off the top. I came to his desk one day and he went on Google Maps. He took a random block in Rio. And without even, navigating on the map, because they have the 3D map where you can go up and down the streets,
Yeah.
telling me what's coming up next, what's going to show up on the third block, on this block.
Goodness.
Yeah, trust me, I was absolutely just amazed and floored.
You should
And
be.
yeah, I couldn't believe it. So when he told me that he was going this year in 2020, I said, I have to go. There's no way that I'm not going to be there.
So you came.
Um, so I came.
So you came to the carnival as Safe did, right?
Right.
Because
Just like he did.
Safe showed me a picture yesterday when we
Mhm.
recorded the interview of him and you guys in a restaurant, I think, or a cafe.
Yeah. Yeah. A
Something.
restaurant called Gringo Cafe.
That's
Ooh,
when you guys met for the first time, no? In
that's
person.
where we met for the first time. But we were always in contact in the Yes Portuguese group,
Yeah, okay.
prior to that. But that was the first actual meeting.
And how was your because okay, you had all this propaganda coming from your
Uh,
friend, from your good friend.
uh,
But I have good friends too. Sometimes they say great things about stuff, and then I go and I check for myself, and I
mhm.
don't have the same opinion, or
Gotcha.
I see something different. Oh, here is not that good as they say. How
Gotcha.
was it for you?
Honestly, the same way Kevin said it, honestly, it was that way. like I remember when we got to the when we just landed in Brazil. You know, it's a 10-hour, about a 10-hour flight from New York.
Okay.
And then, you know, just seeing the sign Benvindo, and I'm just like, wow, like it's, you know, very, very welcoming.
Here, yeah.
Literally leaving the airport and seeing the scenery. I think the only thing for me, sometimes I wish I could have told the taxi, because it's so much to take in at once. You know, as you're driving, it's just so
Yeah,
scenic.
exactly, exactly. And this sensation is also for Brazilians from other states.
Yeah.
When I went there for the first time, I was like baffled by
Mhm.
the beauty.
Yeah.
Because you know, it's like they got a paradise and built a city inside.
Yeah. That's
That's
exactly what it
they
looks like.
had.
So I had one friend actually. So Kevin, some of his friends that are that live in Rio, a lot of the, well, at least a, a few of them speak English. So that definitely, you know, helped out as far as, like, you know, navigating, going around. I actually made a friend on Facebook from Sao Paulo. His name is Victor. He
Mhm.
actually came and met us as well. And he speaks English too. So
That's cool.
um yeah. So honestly, my interactions, you know, with them, just seeing how welcoming they are, trusting they are. It's a complete contrast with New York City. New York City, everybody's, you know, just extremely serious. You know, it takes time to even
Make
get
friends.
somebody to, right, to make friends, if, you know, somebody's looking for friends. You know, people are, they kind of eye you from a distance to kind of figure out who you are, and then over time they might, you know, welcome you. But in Brazil, it
And
just felt
this is
like
with everybody, even among Americans.
among Americans, but I would say this: I think New York probably is one of the extreme, because when I go to, for example, Philadelphia, something as simple as saying good morning, people do. In New York City, you can walk around during the day. People are
Without
not going to
saying a
tell you good
word.
morning.
Yeah,
As a
without
matter of
saying
fact,
a word.
if you stare too long, somebody might have a problem.
Call the
It's
police,
very
exactly.
different. Right. Very different.
Mm.
So I was just really, I was taken aback, and I was really enamored by that sort of reception in Brazil. You know, you really felt like you belonged. You know, like this was like the home away from home. For sure.
How did you take this? Was it easy for you? Like, oh, I can get accustomed to this new thing.
So I know in the beginning I was more so worried about how my interactions would be, meaning how I would be perceived. Because like I
Mm.
said, in New York City, we're just used to, you know, you're just used to, when you go outside, you just kind of keep to yourself, unless you know somebody around, right? Like if I
Okay.
walked into the street and I bumped into Kevin, that's different. You know, I know Kevin,
Hmm.
I can scream his name from across the room, that's fine. But
Hmm.
if I'm in the street and I don't know people, it's like, even when somebody comes up to you, you know, you're definitely more guarded. You know,
Yes, exactly.
why is this person here? What are they? You know, what do they want? What are they asking? You know, you'll help, but you're definitely more guarded, as
Yeah.
opposed to, you know, when in Brazil, it's like somebody can embrace you immediately, like you're a long lost friend that they haven't seen in years.
That is weird until
So
it
I was
happens
more,
one time.
yeah. So I was more so trying to be more conscious of how I looked among the Brazilians. I didn't want to look like somebody that's just like, you know, very guarded,
Mm.
you know, not trusting of people.
Suspicious.
So I more so was trying to working on myself.
Perfect.
Right.
Perfect.
Yeah. So more so working on myself more so than, you know, thinking, you know, why is this person like this? You know, Kevin had warned me, and, you know, I had a few interactions with some Brazilians here in New York. So to even see, because I had gone to the Brazilian Day Parade with Kevin,
Nice.
so to even see how even there, you know, you could just tap somebody and start talking. Like I said, that's happening in New York City. You're like, am I still in New York? Oh, it must just be because I'm around, you know, Brazilians that this
That's
is
very
okay.
cool, man. That's very cool.
Right, right. Because I'll tell you one thing, that same block where they had the parade, I go to that block all the time, because our company has they have an office there, and that area is usually very.
The name. What is the name there?
Yeah, I think it's called Little Brazil, if
Little
I'm not
Brazil.
mistaken. I'll get the sign for you. I took a picture of it.
I think so.
So I'll definitely send it to you. But on a regular day, it's just a very busy street.
Yeah.
And you don't see that many Brazilians there on a regular day. There's a lot of people in corporate offices walking back and forth.
Yeah.
Nobody's making eye contact. If somebody bumps you, you don't expect them to say sorry. That's just on a regular day. Mm-hmm. So to be on that same street.
And the people that crowds this parade, they're not specifically from New York, right? Because I was talking to Kevin and said, you don't see that many Brazilians in the city. They're probably from New Jersey. But
right.
there are Brazilians from all over the United States that goes there, no?
Yeah, it's true.
The regions around, no, the state.
Yeah, they were definitely coming from like New Jersey, Boston, far out, Connecticut, a lot of different places. But in the city itself, yeah, I don't think there's too many.
The city is expensive, isn't it, to live in?
It's extremely expensive.
Yeah,
I was laughing with
some figures. It's out of this world, I believe.
Yeah, like they actually, there's a joke going around because they said due to COVID-19, they actually reduced the prices, right? So when I looked to see
for 5 million.
So when I looked to see what it cost to rent a 1-bedroom apartment in the city, it was still $3,600 US.
Come on.
Per month.
Come on.
They were saying, by the way, that's still double the national average. So we said,
really expensive.
Really expensive.
It's cheaper to live in Malibu Beach.
Could be. Could definitely be. Yeah. The city is too expensive.
Still talking about Brazilian friendship. You know, my wife says that every time I take an Uber, I make a friend. Of course, I'm such a nice person, very, very friendly. I'm kidding. But what other country can you see this? You take an Uber to go somewhere and you make friends with the driver.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you exchange numbers and maybe Facebook accounts and the guy starts following you. It's amazing.
Yeah. So I had the pleasure of seeing that a lot. Because Kevin and I, we would take a lot of times the same Uber. So for example, seeing him in the front with the driver, it was like, again, long lost friends, even though they didn't know each other at all, but he would find some sort of commonality, whether he would talk about, soccer, samba, just carnival itself, the current state of the country, the president. They would just bond.
Exactly.
It was just
like a family, man. This is the place to make friends. Let's go down to a few more complicated questions. I'm going to put you in a hard spot, maybe.
Sure.
But okay, not so complicated, but I'll ask you a few things. Like, first of all, I want to hear from you the ups and downs about Brazil.
Ups and downs?
Yeah. Open your heart and tell us honestly what you thought it was really negative about the city or about the country, and also what you like the most.
Okay. So I'll start. I always like to start with the bad, then go to the good. Yeah. I don't like when it's the other way around.
Yes, I think you're right.
So definitely, I would say you can see a big contrast between the haves and the have-nots. Like to see one side where it's very developed, very beautiful, and then right next to it is a favela, and to see all of the houses stacked up on top of each other. That was something. Yeah, that was something that I stood for a second, and I was just like, wow, that it was tough to see that. Tough to see. And honestly, a lot of the people from the favela that I met, they were warm, really warm.
Absolutely.
People,
very nice people.
I gravitated toward them to see that definitely, it hurt to see that they have to be in such living conditions. And versus the other side where
almost forsaken, right, by the government.
Right. And then so that was definitely a tough thing to see, and a tough thing to deal with. I would say the other thing is, there's so much talent in Rio, so much talent in Brazil in general. To see for some that there was just such, lack of opportunity, or that they're working so hard. They're working so hard. Like we were at the restaurant that we met Saif, Gringo Cafe. It was one of the people working there who Kevin knew. She was working like 4 jobs. And so, even to hear that, that was also another tough thing, just to see people working so hard just to survive. That for me personally always hits home, So I would say for me, those were definitely the two toughest things to really kind of sit down and digest.
Allow me to make a comment on what you're saying.
Mhm.
I think working 4 jobs isn't the ideal, but I don't think it's really the problem, right? Because
Gotcha.
like I have a friend who lives in Australia, Sydney, Australia. She's from
Okay.
Brazil. She works 4 jobs, sometimes 5 jobs there, depending on because one is freelancing, it's just on the weekend.
Gotcha.
But what you get as a payment is sufficient. It's enough
Gotcha.
for you to make a living. The problem
Gotcha.
is you find someone that is working 4 jobs and still can't make ends meet.
Right.
That's
the
the
problem.
right part, I guess.
Yeah.
You know?
That's the tough part. Yeah.
Because then you are using some free time that you could be using to invest in your education to become someone
Yeah.
better, but you can't because you gotta survive, and then you work for jobs. There's no time for schooling.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know? And the
Yeah.
good things, like the thing that like struck you the most that you probably take to the grave, as Kevin said.
Gotcha. So it's a combination. So I'll start with one.
Hmm.
The combination of the beauty of the city and literally the people inside out. The from the physical appearances, right? A lot of people in Rio, they're in shape, they're always working out all the time. But even bigger than that,
I'm an exception because I live in São Paulo.
you're still in great shape, man.
I'm
you're,
kidding.
you're in great shape.
But yeah,
um
they idolize the beauty, right? It's like
yeah,
Greece, the
yeah,
old Greece, always
right.
jogging and
Everybody's sculpted, right? Correct.
exactly. and
But I
and
would say
and showing off, of course, at the beach.
if you work hard, I mean, it's okay to show it. But I would say even more important than any of that
Mhm.
is just the heart of the people. You know,
Yeah.
when I would see the people, no matter what they were going through, right?
Hmm.
They just and I know that's not easy. They find a way to just be so welcoming, so happy,
Hmm.
so determined. Like even when I was in the Sambo Dromo, and just seeing all the people cheering for their samba schools, it was just so surreal.
As if there were no tomorrow, right?
Right, as if there was nothing else going on.
There's no problem. They don't
Right,
have bills to pay.
right.
Yeah.
And it's not like this was for 1 hour. I mean, this went from what, 7 8 p.m. all the way to the next morning 4 or 5 a.m. And I'm just like, I'm looking around and I'm like, are you kidding me? Like that was such a beautiful thing, to see.
Did you feel like the identification of the Brazilians for their culture is huge?
I felt like that.
Yeah.
I felt like that. I felt like they definitely, you know, at least from what I could see, were proud and identified
Mm.
with their culture. Um, I'll mention one funny thing quickly. I did notice, and Kevin did warn me, when we would get into an Uber cab, they would play some American music. I noticed that quite a bit, and and most of the time it might be from like the 80s, the 70s, 80s. So,
Was on purpose.
uh,
You think
yeah,
it
it would
was,
seem that way. It
yeah.
would seem that way. So when we get it, I'm like, wait a minute, that's
We don't want to hear that, man.
yeah.
Put Elis Regina, put Roberto. Do you know Roberto Carlos?
I've heard of him, yeah.
Yeah, it's a big iconic singer here.
Uh,
Roberto Carlos, come on. I want Dire Straits. Dire Straits is American, right?
right.
Yeah.
So that was definitely one interesting thing to see. And in my mind, I'm like, you could leave the whatever was playing, whether it was sertanejo, some samba, bossa nova. That's fine because I wanted to really just take in the culture. I hear
Exactly.
American music all the time.
Man, I have a question here. While you were talking, it came to my mind, like, how much have you changed as a person because of Brazil? What is the impact that wearing that golden jersey,
Golden Jersey.
what is the impact it has caused to your life as a
Well,
person?
gotcha. So I would say it's definitely when I came back, even on the plane ride, I was pretty sad. Um, it got me excited about exploring the world. I started to even want to meet people. Meet people just for the
Be
sake of
open to new cultures.
right, open to new cultures. Forming new bonds. Just like I said, coming from Brazil, that it was just the norm there.
Mm,
And I feel like in almost everybody there is that want and that need to connect,
mhm.
to connect to someone, to connect to something.
Okay.
So that definitely grew. And honestly, on my way back here, I was definitely sad to come back to the States, just because I knew what I was coming back to. Was coming back to having to, go from, being more open and free to, all right, going back to, you know, kind of being more
So
serious.
minding your own business.
Right. Minding your own business and just being serious. And
You can
honestly,
even
I
say good
enjoy it.
morning anymore.
Right. Or if you say good morning, don't expect a good morning back. Expect somebody to look at you strange and say, why is this person so happy for? Why are you telling me good morning? Why are you happy? So I definitely miss that sort of freedom, in Brazil, just that camaraderie you know, among others. I'm definitely open to that.
Very
I'm
nice.
just open to exploring, you know,
Very nice.
you know.
That's a
I
big
looked at my passport when I came back, and I kept looking at the stamp from Brazil because it's funny because I had to renew my passport. This is the first stamp I have on it,
thing.
and I made a vow that I would make sure I have a bunch of stamps in my passport. And a stat came out. Many Americans don't travel; they just travel, within the states. They don't go to different countries. So
Okay.
I don't want to be part of that statistic. I want to travel. I want to get a different perspective. I don't want to just pick up a
Right.
book. It's true.
So down the line of equator, um, is there any other country you would like to visit in the near future?
In the near future, after coming to Brazil again, of course, because that's an immediate plan I have.
Are you
Uh,
working on that right now? As
uh
soon as the barriers are lifted, are you working on
yeah.
that? Like
As soon
returning?
as the barriers are lifted, because actually before all of this happened, I had already started to plan from even before we left Brazil back in March to come out in December because I wanted to experience, New Year's in Brazil
Oh, in
and to
Rio,
spend
man.
maybe a month, at least a month in the country.
Mhm.
So that was my plan originally. I would say after
But not only Rio, right? This a month in the country would be traveling around
so
like
it
coming
wouldn't
back home.
right. So it wouldn't have just been only Rio. I definitely had on my plate to spend maybe a week or two in Rio and a week or two in Sao Paulo at least. Those are the two states on my list at least immediately.
Okay.
I do know I also want to go to Bahia. That's on the list as well.
Mhm. You're gonna
I mean,
love it, probably.
yeah, I'm
Mhm.
sure it would take me years, decades to really go through um Brazil, but that's definitely honestly
Maybe
the
not.
biggest thing on my list.
Maybe not. What is
You
an
think so?
advantage nowadays is the currency, no, Neil?
Hmm.
Is the currency because the dollar is strong compared to the real, so you just need
Hmm.
to find time, I believe. for you to
Yeah.
explore everything.
Yeah.
The currency is very favorable right now.
Yeah, it is. I've noticed. Kevin and I talk about that weekly. It's like we have our own weekly report. Did you see where the dollar closed in comparison to the
Good.
reais? We always do that.
It's good. I joked with Dave and I said, you guys are like Kryptonians. You leave Krypton and then you go to Earth, which would be Brazil. There's the yellow sun, so superpower.
That's an interesting analogy, but it makes sense from the perspective of when we come back to the United States, we're almost nobodies.
Yeah,
you know, our money is just normal. When we come to Brazil,
it's a very nerdy analysis. Look at me. I'm a fan
it's
of
funny.
things.
Batman is actually my favorite hero. So it's funny that you actually pulled that out.
Are you
at the same
serious?
time.
Look at what I've got. We're gonna get along really well, man, when you come here because look at that.
Ooh,
Batman.
You got the whole series.
Not the
Wow.
whole series. I still have a lot of issues to buy, right?
Gotcha.
I
But
have the most important.
that's still a good amount.
Yeah, and most are in English. I love this.
Okay.
One.
Gotcha.
But you know, yeah, Kryptonians in Brazil. That would be.
But hey, I tell you what, that would even be a good challenge for me. The ones that you have, let's say in Portuguese, that would be a good challenge for me to look at after some time when my Portuguese gets better. I would definitely be up for the challenge of reading one of the Batman books in Portuguese.
Yeah, do it. You probably have heard of the Brazilian low self-esteem, and it doesn't happen to everyone. Again, I have to say I'm not part of this group. I'm very proud. I'm a very proud Brazilian myself.
Mm.
I love my country, but there are some people who think the center of the problems is this place. Every other nation is better. The grass is always greener on the other side. So you were born in the United States, a desired target for most Brazilians to live in New York, to live in the United States. And you come from the other way around, the other side. So the other grass, I would say.
Mm.
What do you have to say for those people who criticize their country so much?
So it's interesting because exactly what you just said, I've noticed that scenario. Honestly, I hope they get a chance to travel. And the only reason why I say this is because I think that will give them perspective. Because I hear them all the time say, yeah, I want to go to New York or Disney World. I'm like, sure, you might want to go there to visit, right? But when you get there, you'll notice certain things that will have you, appreciate, your country more. And I get it. You may see me coming to your country, say, oh yeah, you're American, your dollars are strong here. That aspect I can understand, right? But when you actually talk about, the country itself, the people, the places, the history, the culture, all of that mixed up, like I said, I really do wish that they get a chance to travel because I think that will give them a deeper appreciation for home, because they think, I think sometimes they think if they go somewhere else, right, that all their problems would be solved, or I go somewhere else, I'll make money in that currency and live in that place. But they don't realize that you also have to adjust to that place cost of living.
Oh yeah.
And right, so living in that place, in that other place, like I said, living in New York, making money in New York, you're gonna feel tied down. I always tell them that. So I would love for them to get the chance to travel because I think that would give them a lot more perspective on what they have.
Exactly.
When we come out there, it's like, man, we're trying to escape this fast pace, always fast, always bills. To come to Brazil, and I get it. Some people there's quite enough people that they're working hard, they want opportunities. So I understand that aspect of it. But sometimes going somewhere else, even if like let's say if it's for a couple of weeks, will give them perspective. Like I tell some people, I say, you say you want to come to New York, but sometimes New York gets really cold to the point where we don't even want to step outside, you know? People that have arthritis, for example, in the cold is bad. You know, they would come to Brazil and they say, man, I'll stay out here, you know? So it's just, you know, no matter, every country has its problems. I always tell people that. The news, the media, their job is to paint the country as beautiful as they can, you know? But I tell people, you come to New York, you'll find a lot of places that are dirty. You'll find a lot of you'll find a lot of bumps in the road. I mean, it's normal. You'll see some people that are, you know, struggling too. So it's no matter where you,
right?
Yeah, no matter where you go, there will always be problems. So you just have to really, you know, balance the good and the bad. 'Cause when I hear some people talk, they make it seem like America, there's no problems, and I'm like, you know, we may be suffering, we may have different issues, right? But there's still problems no matter, you know, where you go.
Exactly.
And trust me, the fact that it really helps a lot of times when, you know, you have people that you can connect with. Imagine just being somewhere where, you know, you just work all the time. You know, maybe you make some money, but you don't have anybody to connect it to, you know, anybody to connect with, or you just feel alone. And
You
that's
gotta
one of
ask
the,
yourself if it's worth it at the end of the day, right, my friend?
yeah.
Because there is a maxim in the universe, which is you have to give to take.
Yeah.
Look, you gotta work to make money. It's something God has established. You believe it or not. We need
Yeah.
to work to receive. Okay, I
Right.
go to the US, I live in the place where I wanted to live, I make the money that I wanted to make. At the same time, you said there are the costs.
Yeah.
They're not low, they're high. You're gonna be away from your family, right? Lifestyle is different. Maybe you won't be able to relate to others, like you said. You can say hello to people on the streets, but you know, there are a bunch of things that you need to consider, right?
Yeah. And you
And
know, the
we'll
thing
see.
too, some people, they, because people are so used to, and this is also a misconception sometimes that some people have of Brazilians, which I really don't like. Because they're so used to people not being friendly, right? Sometimes somebody will take somebody being friendly as, oh, this person is into me, they love me. When that's just their nature. So you'll find people like this. Oh, you know what happened? This person, they seem like they were so intimate. It's like, no, outside of what you deal with in the United States or in New York, when you travel other places, this is at least in Brazil, this is how people are. It's not that this particular person is into you.
Man, wow, you have said something. Can I tell you a short story before we
Yeah,
finish?
sure.
I spent 5 days in London on a backpacking trip around Europe. We visited 4 countries. London was the final destination, the last one, the last destination before flying back to São Paulo. Well, I was to a certain point of the trip, I was alone because my friend had returned back to Brazil due to personal problems.
Okay.
And I made friends with a hostel girl. She was the receptionist at the hostel that I was staying in.
Okay.
She was a German girl that had been there for many years, so her English was amazing. And
Gotcha.
as I was alone, I was talking to her on a daily basis, right? Hey, can you give me a suggestion about this place? And she was so helpful, part of her job, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember at the end of the trip, I said, look, I'm leaving now. I'm going back to Sao Paulo. Thank you very much for all the days. Listen, I'm going to leave my email address,
Uh-huh.
my telephone. Whenever you want to go to Brazil, whenever you feel like going, look for me. I'll
Mm.
pay back to you, showing you the city around. She picked up the paper, man. She looked at me and said, men are all the same, you know?
Wow. Oh my gosh. Wow. Wow. Yeah, she completely misread it.
I never
Wow.
I never forgot this. I was misinterpreted, misunderstood because of our typical friendship. Believe me, I had no intentions whatsoever to hate on her.
No, I believe it. I
If
believe
I
it.
did, I would tell you because I'm a
Yeah.
man. Okay, I was not married at the time. I was single, but
Gotcha.
that was not the point. I just wanted to say, look, what you've done to me here was so great.
Right.
I want to pay it back to you when you go to Brazil.
Right. Right.
Men are all the same. Doesn't matter the
Oh my
country.
gosh.
Put the
Yeah,
pay.
she completely misread it. Yeah, no good.
And that's what you
Yeah.
said, right? Foreigners might
Yeah.
think Brazilians are in love or something
Yeah.
because of the
And,
phrase.
and that's one thing that bothers me a lot. It bothers me a lot because people are so stuck in what they're used to in their environment
Mm.
that they cannot see outside of it and see, wow, this person is just doing such a good gesture. You know, they didn't have to open their home to me. They didn't have to show me around the country, bring me around their friends, but they're doing it just out of the goodness of their heart. So I don't like when people they they try and put that sort of stereotype, and I'm like, it's blatant, it's false, it's
Yeah,
not true at all.
pretty much.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
I forgot to ask you a question. This is the last, I promise. How's your Portuguese? Are you making Adriele and Ludmila proud?
So right now I'm definitely behind, but I do plan to use the rest of the year to really brush up. I mean, they have a really good course. They have all these modules that really put you at the heart of the action.
Okay,
They already start having you listen to a lot of Portuguese early on, even though you can't understand.
great.
Getting used to the speed, slowly picking up some words here and there, and then kind of building out. Because the one thing that, and they're so right about language, is even if somebody just tries to look at something and listen to it slowly, it's gonna always be different with interactions. Like when I would hear Brazilians speak in Brazil, it's just very fast. It's like, whoa, okay, so um, I love their approach. It's just a matter of me sitting and putting more time just going
Yeah,
through it.
as any
But
other
that's the
thing.
but that's the plan.
As any other
But
thing.
that's
Very
the
good. Do you have any final message, any message to the Brazilians before we wrap up?
Sure, absolutely. I'll leave a message to the Brazilians, but also, any foreigner like myself considering Brazil. So to the
Great.
Brazilians, I would say, thank you so much for your hospitality. Thank you so much for, being you. Don't give up on your country. Um, Trust me, a lot of people when they get a chance to visit,
There will
they
be
ex-
applause here, okay, on my editing. So probably there are a lot of hands because I will applaud. Wow. It was good. Thank you for enjoying us so much as you guys are. So go on.
anytime. One thing you'll notice is that when people they get a chance to visit, their life is never the same. Anytime they talk about places that they've been, Brazil will always have a special place in their heart. And honestly, it changes them. They're willing to be more open, with others. They see the benefits of that. They see the happiness, the joy. They don't see people with, they have an ulterior motive. They just see people, taking advantage of the time that they have and just really, pushing forward and making connections. So definitely don't give up on your country. Things may be tough at times, but you guys, Brazilians, you guys are definitely special people. And in a world sometimes where, people sometimes give up hope, our hope is restored when we see just the way you guys are. So definitely, don't ever give up, continue to have that pride, for your country and for others, because it's a beautiful thing, beautiful thing.
Wow, congratulations first of all, for being who you are. We are all amazed. I have been telling my family about you guys. Everybody's very happy to see this warmth and this love coming from you guys, foreigners who like Brazil. It's such a privilege to have you guys here. And I personally have to thank you because you saw my post and you said interested and magic started happening from there. It took one action for you to change a person's life. You have changed mine for the good, and I have to tell you this. And thank you for this. I need to thank you for the opportunity of introducing such great people like Safe, like Kayla, and like Kevin, and through Kevin, Kayla, Safe, and so all the other people. Thank you very much. I want to ask the viewers to click a lot on the likes for this guy because he deserves it. Okay, I'm gonna open a competition between who is gonna get more likes on all the videos. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for you to see content like this that are really life-changing. And don't forget to click the bell to receive notifications of new videos to come. Thank you, Neil. Thank you very much. Hope to see you in Brazil any day. When you come, don't forget to ring me up so we can meet and have fun together. I don't forget you're gonna have one of those. The guy is not sponsoring me. It's something I felt from the heart. This is a book about the story of Brazil. I'm gonna give you as a present for giving me this interview.
I appreciate it. And I just want to end this by saying this to you, Mark. You know, thank you. Honestly, with all that's going on in 2020, you know, the ups, the downs, when I saw your Facebook post and I saw your channel, it really brought about such joy in me. You know, literally my world stopped for a minute.
Oh my God.
Your content is just like, wow. Not only are you, you know, showing us Brazil, you know, showing us Sao Paulo, showing us different avenues, you're also giving us history. You know, I like the character from Disney World, Zé Carioca. I had no idea who that was. But as I went through your video, it just all of a sudden I just became interested, curious. So thank you for all that you do. You know, continue to do it. You know, I'm happy that I could have, you know, been a small part of it. I'm happy that
you are a big part of it now, my friend. Have you ever seen a man
Yeah.
cry? So let's hang up before that happens.
I agree.
Your words are fantastic. They will be kept with me. Thank you very much for this opportunity, buddy. I am so glad, and I told Safe yesterday that I want to look at you guys as my personal friends now, if you allow me.
Absolutely.
I feel so happy when I wake up in the morning and I see a group called Brazil Guys created by them. I'm just like a twist of fate inside this group. I don't know what I'm doing there. It was like a privilege that the universe gave me. God gave me. Thank you very much for this, my buddy.
Thank you, Mark.
I will see you around.
See you.
Bye-bye, guys.